Hello, my name is Chelsea Mann.
And my name is Matthew Ersek. For this consultant report, we are proposing a new meat alternative to our client, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations.
Our world is currently facing many challenges, one of which being the population crisis. Today, the world's population is estimated to be 6.9 billion people. However, by 2050, the population is expected to reach 9 billion people, with the majority of the growth projected to take place in developing countries.
Given the increase in the population trend, it is expected that food demand will increase as well. Projections show that feeding a world population of 9.1 billion people in 2050 would require raising overall food production by 70%.
Livestock brings about many environmental issues, including deforestation, desertification, nutrient pollution, greenhouse gases, energy inefficiency, excessive freshwater use, and food used for animal feed.
So with all these issues involving farm-grown meat, would an alternative option be better? Cultured meat is one considerable alternative. However, it is on a completely different level than farm-grown meat, as it is grown and produced in a lab and not fully from an animal.
The process of making lab-grown meat can be broken down to a few main steps. First, either embryonic stem cells or adult stem cells are segregated. Next, these cells are placed in a petri dish with a bacterial-based growth serum and are allowed to divide and redivide until they form muscle cells. Then these cells are grown on a scaffold where they eventually bind together to form muscle. The muscle is exercised to produce protein and then finally ground up, given flavor, and formed into familiar-looking meat eaten today.
To determine if in vitro meat is a viable option, we will focus on comparing 4 areas: efficiency, production, cost, and feasibility. Looking at efficiency, the average beef producing farm requires about 15 acres to produce 2,200 pounds of meat, while in vitro meat currently only requires as little as 0.05 acres to produce the same amount of meat.
Next, we will compare productivity. Did you know that one head of cattle takes 18 to 20 months before reaching maturity? In vitro meat, on the other hand, only takes a few weeks to reach maturity, allowing the product to be available much faster.
From an economical standpoint, the issue is arguable. Currently, the costs of in vitro meat are extremely high. It has also been estimated that first-generation lab meat could cost about $2 a pound before market fees and final sale, putting the price well above the $4 McDonald's Big Mac. However, it is estimated that due to lower greenhouse gas emissions, global savings would be more than $130 billion a year.
Lastly, feasibility of both approaches has to be considered. With current farmland occupying a quarter of all land and livestock feed accounting for 1/3 of all cultivable land, the planet is literally running out of space. Increased population would lead to an increase in land consumption by the livestock industry, and therefore less room. In vitro meat faces different feasibility issues, however. Although it uses much less land space than farm-grown meat, it is still in the early stages of production. It could take years before in vitro meat is perfected and released as a commercialized product.
After considering all of these factors, we have reached a final decision. We propose that the Food and Agricultural Organization should consider in vitro meat as a viable alternative and invest in research to further its presence. Once in vitro meat has sufficiently been researched, the FAO could perhaps take steps towards marketing the item.
Of course, with high costs, such food would be initially treated as a delicacy. Yet with future technological advancements relating to cultured meat, this food type could potentially become a regular market item like meat today. After all, with all the disadvantages farm-grown meat brings about in the world, perhaps a new route in the industry should be considered.